G'day and welcome everybody to a brand new map. You're joining us on special Hot Stepper for a King of the Hill game like no other. This time we have 11 kings in this middle of this pointy king zone, and around the outside we have 58 peasants that are going to be testing their might up against these kings. Couple of things that run wildly different for this map versus any of the others is the sheer amount of resources available to both teams. Across the map, all of these rocks are reclaimable. They're worth anywhere between 150 and 1200, which means that there's so much metal here that getting yourself up to that T2 eco, the advanced fusion reactor, is no problem whatsoever. In addition to that, we have geos absolutely everywhere. The kings actually have access to 15 geos, which makes this a eco scale like we've never seen before. But this game isn't without its troubles. We had a plan for how this was all going to play out, but as is the normal for players that jump in, the plan goes awry very, very quickly. Twiggy's going to run us through exactly what those positions we had thought out for the kings were, and a couple of the peasant positions, and then we'll get into the action.
So, looking at the kings, you can see me hogging the middle here. I had practiced a build before this. This game mode was released in King of the Hill Sunday gone, in which I could get all these geos up T3 with all these geos upgraded. And one or two AFs, I can't remember, but absolutely stuffed up my build. Unfortunately, one of our regulars, Paul, was one of the kings, and computer died as going into this. I think it was computer or internet, whatever it was. I had to take their commander, and it did not spawn when I wanted to. What we want to see out of the kings, or what we thought we would see, is one king spawning on these 4 mexes and building up, getting some reclaim, getting on these geos such as Maladay. We were thinking something like this, going around taking the geos, these 4 mexes, and these 5 players, their job is to build units ready for that 10-minute mark. Then around the outside, we thought we were going to see kings spawning up here, kind of like Maxi, going into T2 as well, getting these geos potentially upgraded, noting though that the Cerberus does not get much line of sight off of these, and then going into defenses, defending 3 bastions each, so essentially the player would defend something like that. And then, of course, these players here going into those avenues in between the larger arrowheads. As you can see, though, not happening. Something totally different. We've got a bit of commie eco here, which I don't mind seeing. T2 up really quickly. I'm only just going into mine now, but what I have done is send a couple constructors out to each of these smaller arrowheads, so I can really focus on getting a big eco by that 10-minute mark and sharing out, hopefully, T3. Right, let's look around the map.
Exactly. Peasants have a lot of space and a lot of metal to deal with around this map. Something which is really important and plays a pretty big role are these large volcanic vents. 80,000 energy and 1,000 metal each on the larger ones. And that's why we're seeing resbots as the primary level of economy for a lot of these players. The corners still need to work together to make the magic happen, but we also need to see plenty of units, because unlike the regulated lanes that we see in Raptor Crater, this is going to be much more open as soon as the kings break out. This is going to be a tough one for both teams, because if any peasants make it up, there are so many geos spaced around that the explosions are going to be wild, but the kings have the ability to push down very, very hard with the eco available. Just want to give a quick shout out, the lava map here. Big thanks to Chronographer from AllReasonNoLogic. He's told us to stop shouting him out every video, but with a new map, he does get a new shout out.
I like what he's done here with the geos. He's purposely done this as well. He's separated them so that we can not share T2 so easily. T2, you can't just simply walk across there, but what you can do a little bit sneaky, if you're a kind geo player here, you can build the lab, say, off the side of the hill you're on, but of course that means building all your build power to one side so that you can do that as a quick transition. You don't want to be ecoing up and then not being able to share anything. Having said that, with all the reclaim, I mean, Grumpiness is getting up to T2 level very easily right now. I will just quickly note, reclaim is not as fast as it is in a usual game. Purposely it's been turned down for these rocks. That is generally the way a hot stepper is set up as well, just the standard map. These bots do not get through the middle anywhere near as quickly.
But there is still plenty for them. One of the things we hope is that after a couple of games in this one, the different teams will work out their own metas and try to push through. At halfway through the allotted time, we are seeing quite a large amount of T2 coming out from the Peasants team. We're also seeing an Aphis coming down for Milady as the Kings. Twig's got four of the Geo, or 3 of the Geos, with a couple of them being taken by other players. And the players around the map just getting the medal as they can. The players that are designated to defend are going to have a slightly harder start in this one because they are dealing with incredibly spread out mexes. There is still plenty of metal for them, but the 3 mex locations and the geo location does mean that they do have a bit of trouble with moving things along, and that is by design. We don't want the King's base to be completely impenetrable. We want the Peasants to have a chance of pushing through, and if it was all nice and close, they'd be able to lock this down just that little bit too much. A good balanced game will have pressure coming in at a lot of sides for the King, as well as pressure pushing out, and hopefully starting to claim corner after corner.
Just to really point out how metal and energy rich this map is, you can just see skimming around these edges here how many T2 labs are up. Almost every Peasant has their own, easily being able to afford those T2 labs. None vehicles, everyone going bots, which makes sense because they're fighting uphill.
Well, no, it makes sense because they need the reclaim.
Yeah. Through this, with all these, yeah, so much metal. It does disappear though once you get these res bots up in the numbers of like 100 of them. The stuff does start disappearing quite quickly. You can see small armies running around. Energy though does reclaim a lot faster. I wanted to point that out as well. So they disappear very quickly, those crystals.
Exactly. There is a balance between the amount of res bots versus getting the reclaim. You still want to end up with your scaling economies, but you can utilize the metal around the map to make it happen faster. Too many res bots though, and you'll overcome the bonus that you're getting from it. You'll actually notice the Kings are not doing a lot of reclaiming. There is still plenty going on, but in comparison to the Peasants, it is not crazy. There's only 70 res bots going around at the moment doing their thing in the King's base, and if you compare that to the Peasants, every single Peasant has at least a force of 20. If not, they're doing something wacky or wild, such as co-oping with other players.
I really am short on build power here. You can see I've got 9,000 metal in the bank, hoping not to overflow. I mean, once it comes up, that Aphis will come online very quickly. This happened as soon as all my geos went up. So as this middle player here, kind of the build I go with, and I'm sure there are way better ways to do this, is I build 10 constructors out of the gate. At least one of them goes to each of these mexes, and then builds 2 of these construction turrets. One first, builds the geo, and then when the T2 comes out while it's building these, build a second construction turret so they can then help build the advanced geos. They come up quite quickly and my energy shoots up very quickly. We're at 8 minutes 30 and I'm able to put down that T3 lab. Just definitely struggling with build power, so I had to get onto that a little bit earlier. Obviously a little bit of stuff up with some geos not being mine, but I shouldn't have been so greedy to expect to get them all. Part of the reason I went in the middle as well is players like Melody here. If they went in the middle, they'd probably have about 3 or 4 Aphis by now if we didn't want it to be too easy.
Speaking of too easy, we've got just over a minute left to go, and it does look like the Peasants are starting to put their units out. We're sitting at a 2,000-ish metal per second for the Peasants and 1.2 for the Kings, which is somewhat to be expected. The Peasants always run a little bit ahead at the beginning because there are just so many of them and they're able to capture so many mexes. It's not until the mid-game that the King's bonus starts catching up.
Shout out to Mazza here, putting in the game comments saying, let's win this. It'll probably be on YouTube. You're absolutely right.
It's almost like these guys have played with us before and they They know that we'll pick the best match of the night. So with 30 seconds to go, we're just to outline a little bit about this. We will be cutting and editing this video just a little bit because there are some moments where the players are still learning exactly what to go on with this map. So we'll keep you in the action, but we will cut out any sort of stalls along the way. And that is the lava starting to drop, and across the map we have got 450 units, only a handful of which are the kings, with the exception of the top right-hand side, where Darth Revan has gone for an insane amount of T1 units. And they're not just normal T1 units, no, we're not going with grunts and ticks or things along those lines. We're doing brutes and we're doing thugs. There are still some fast movers in there, but this is a huge amount of chonk. The most chonk I think we've ever seen a king push out with at the 10-minute mark. And this should be quite the exciting push. Because what's it going up against? It's going up against 4 welders. That's not good. That's not good for the peasants.
You'd think, yeah, you get this much eco. How much has Darth Revan got? 104 metal. You'd think T2, but this guy knows what he's doing. Highest OS, second highest OS on the team. Having said that, I think they're 106 in free-for-all. So, very good player. T1 does a thing.
Look, even trying to avoid the comm explosion best as possible, moving those units away, staying away from the D-gun. Some damage will be done no matter what, but that is just the nature of T1 units in their short range. We're quickly going to jump down to the bottom left of the Kings, where we're seeing the maze structures that are being built. I absolutely love these maze defenses, taking out a lot of that T1. With only a handful of lanes pushing, this is going to be a struggle for the peasants to push in. Just a quick jump below Darth Revan's lane, and we see units getting ready with spam, but plenty here to defend it. So Darth Revan's push is the main source of the action right now. Gunslinger's a great counter to thugs and stouts. That healing, if you can push them back, works well. The Pounders also phenomenal in this situation. They are slow to get into position, but they aren't called a anti-swarm unit for nothing, and they will trade reasonably effectively. But with this many thugs and this many stouts, a lot of damage is being done. And as you can see by some of the pings, what the F is going on. It is not like the Kings to push out in this sort of fashion.
Already
The
had
question is, what are the Kings going to do about this? Because they've created a foothold. They've only managed to kill 1 peasant and left a huge amount of metal donation, and the units are coming in to somewhat deal with this. Defenses are being pulled to grab the trickle of units, and we'll see what's going on. Thankfully, the push is being split, which means we do have some T2 units heading above the T1. They're just heading into the brown base just above. And they are going to be taken out by the comm. Looking at... where are you looking, Twig?
I'm looking down bottom right, just seeing
down
a few fiends. They're just scouting out what's going on here. We've got Maxi just getting the feel. These Scorpions are going to deal with them very quickly, though.
They are not too much in the way of pushing out other than the top of the map, though we are seeing a large amount of catapults. So these are going to be quite the force here, especially considering it is 13 minutes to have these coming out at a reasonably rapid rate. 3 APHIS built and a 4th one on the way. This is going to amount to a lot of build power and a lot of T3.
I went and put a demon to every player. Unfortunately, one just getting D-gunned there, which is as expected. Commanders, when you see a T3 unit, just go for the D-gun if there's nothing else around it, no spam. So getting cleaned up nicely, but the rest being kept up in the base for defense, making sure that we don't get any strong T2 pushes. And yeah, they're just going to be guarding those ramps for a little while unless these players decide to use them. We do have a bit of a T2 push. We've got some welders, we've got some snipers coming down into this south lane here. Luckily for my team, the Kings, pushing into one of the more defended lanes. We have Bulwark up on the hill there. We've got the Beamers. Bulwark obviously going to do a lot of damage with this Persecutor against any of this T2. The Sharpshooters need to get into the range of Grumpiness's Smugglers. I'm sure they'll get there. Is there even vision for Kings? Yeah, there's plenty of radar there. Do we see them? No. Yeah, they're all blocked out. So this lane here, maybe going to start struggling. We do have a bunch of T1 spam blitz and grunts coming through here. Let's get through.
The Beamers are doing a phenomenal job. One of them up to 32 kills already, 28 on another one. But blitzers are actually reasonably good at running past Beamers. They're a little bit chunkier than the grunts or the pawns, and once they're in, they have some really nice DPS. They're going for the advanced Geo, which I actually really like because it's a target that they'll be able to get, and it clears out a lot of those defenses. Potato has been pushed well back by that explosion. Demon coming in to save the day, thankfully, but the snipers do have the option of taking that one out so long as they are well controlled. But firing, they are visible now, and the demon, all it has to do is walk in to get them. They are pulling back a little bit though, so it does look like this is being held nicely.
And luckily for the Kings, they're at least damage to all the jammers. So now these snipers are visible and they can be targeted quite easily. They do take out that demon, but I think this is more or less covered now. I've just decided to come into the Fiend spam just around pretty much all of the King's bases that are under some sort of pressure. I am struggling though with my APM a little bit, trying to keep that eco going up. You can see can't even spend the metal. I just need that constant build power. I didn't actually realise until this stage of the game that advanced construction turrets were on, so I completely stuffed that up. Don't know who turned them on. This probably would have meant I could have got up a lot more eco before the 10-minute mark if I knew that these were on. But unfortunately I didn't pick up on that.
Just something to look at, that area that did get attacked by the snipers, you'll notice that a lot of the defenses that were running along the edge of the cliff were taken out. The bulwark actually counted for very little, but we have the persecutors still up there and firing. One of the things that's important to note is that quite a lot of units will be able to take a bulwark on the edge, but the persecutors pushed back will still get plenty of range, plenty of damage done with their high arc fire, but they're not at the same risk from snipers and things along those lines.
Oh, I got a bit of a. I needed one of those LUA UI reloads. What's the code for that?
Unsure.
We'll just continue anyway. It's only a little bit of the screen. Good old bar.
I don't think that we're seeing any visual artifacting on the actual recording side, so I think we're all good.
Yeah, nice. Okay.
Looking at the top right again, it does look like the T1 push has finally been completely cut off, and the crazy thing is how little damage overall it's done. Two and a half players taking some pretty significant damage, but everyone else rallying to deal with this. One of the things that happens in a map like this, the sheer size of it allows for reinforcements to come in, it allows for players to get units up, and allows for defenses. It doesn't matter how strong your push is, it will take time to move across it. This map is significantly bigger than a Raptor crater, which means that fast moving units when you need to reinforce a push is going to be better than the best unit for the situation.
Things are really ramping up here. It's only 17 minutes. T3 is well underway for the Kings. I'm sure it's there for the Peasants in some slots as well, but we got Mammoths here just shutting down any of the push outs from the Kings. There is a lot happening, and it's going to be coming down to really APM as these ecos scale up. You can see Grumpiness here going into their 6th and 7th APHIS already with 5,000 metal in the bank. That's as a Peasant as well, no eco bonus like the Kings have. Very similar, we've got the T3 lab coming up here bottom right, so Kings really need to push out. What is being done? Even my eye on these catapults.
A large amount of spam is coming out of Twig in at the middle of the map to try and assist with some of these pushes, and we're seeing Maladay is going to be taking advantage of that and pushing out with the large number of catapults. This is a absolutely huge problem for the Peasants. This sort of number of catapults, so long as the spam's actually in place to take care of them, is going to be very, very hard for anyone to deal with, because of just the sheer amount of range, and with that many you can actually just push down just about anything. Yes, they'll struggle with killing a Juggernaut or a Behemoth, but anything short of that, and these will actually have the firepower to kill it within 1 or 2 volleys.
We just saw it with that commander. As soon as these encroach slightly into the eco here, this person that's on this Geo Bastion by themselves is going to be all that written over. I don't know
We're
what the
seeing a
best counter
command
is.
that people are pinging saying eat the advanced geo. I don't think that will happen fast enough, as all of these catapults are being manual fired. They're not being put on fight command to wait to see where they're going to have to shoot. They are just being told to fire at the maximum of their range, and there goes the geo. And there's not much to push back against this. There are a handful of catapults to fire back, and because of the grouped nature of the Maladay's catapults, any sort of manual fired shots by the Peasant catapults is going to do quite a lot of damage. But they do need to be switched from hold fire to from fire at will to hold fire, because they will target things. They will prioritize the things that are close to them over manually targeting, and manually targeting is one of the things you absolutely have to do in a siege warfare battle. You need to look at where those shots are coming from, and then you need to place your own to counter. This is, if you haven't done Vanguard dueling, then I would highly recommend practicing Vanguard dueling inside of some sort of radar jammer. That is quite the skill to have for a King of the Hill game. And it does look like the second mass wave of spam is coming up just above the current fight from Artificial Banana, sending out, and this time it may actually hit a little harder than than it has down at the bottom, because it is pushing into much more limited defenses.
Yeah, without the likes of beamers or even counter spam, these here actually do really well against T2. There is a lot of healing power here, but Scorpions don't do good against spam. They shoot too infrequently.
They do not. Every single shot will kill one of the spam units, but it's overkilling it to a ludicrous degree, which means that a lot of the DPS is wasted. Something to bear in mind, though, spam is very good. Spam is better if it has units behind it that can deal damage, so even if the spam isn't getting the damage done, there is something to deal damage. But counter push by the Peasants just above. We do have resurrected units here, in particular the resurrected demon, that is starting to head up the ramp, going for Darth Revan. This demon may end up being an absolute hero demon. They trade particularly well against Razorbacks unless the Razorbacks are in mass, and we do have a large amount of res bots. They are grabbing the metal, but they can heal the demon if needed. Hopefully this large push of Mammoths and T2 will be able to do good damage as they head up, and there we go. That is the heal going down on the demon.
I'm so sad at this stage of the game. Darth Revan left when this happened, and I ended up taking this base. I should not have been the person that took this base. Yeah, I did not see that they were getting attacked, and this player here, we got Platinum Blonde, I think took a little bit too while to react with the T3, and Darth Revan was taking on T3 with T1 and T2, so it was very poor form of the rest of us Kings not to recognise that slightly earlier. We'll say though, when you're in these games, the background noise of all the battles, unless you've got your settings adjusted just right for real loud noises, you just cannot hear those pings like you can in the usual 8 versus 8.
Definitely worth bearing in mind that when you play as a king, you have to zoom out and you have to play with your team best that you can. And yes, it is unfortunate when a player leaves, but it does look as though Darth Revan tried with the T1 strategy and did not manage to push out with it to the extent that they wanted, and then felt this push was just that little bit too much. We do have that hero demon up to 200 kills already, and it's not just spam that it's killing. Whilst it is doing a phenomenal job of clearing out that entire ramp, it is also getting the Razorbacks.
I just lost you for a second there, but yeah, I see where you are now. These Razorbacks should be able to take it out, but they're being clumped up here, and so they're all feeling the damage of just the one demon, so that's turning into a real hero demon.
It definitely is hero demon. It is up to...
Does it survive?
That's a good question. It's being healed like crazy, and it is trying to survive, but I think it may just go down. There is a little bit too much here.
There's a jug here.
And with a Juggernaut there, but it is doing its absolute best. It has claimed well and truly over 50,000 medals worth of units, and that's the power of putting the right unit in at the right place.
350 kills, that is ridiculous for one unit, and it goes down. Fantastic. You can really see the domination out of Maladay down here. now going into fast and reliable Marauder. So probably knowing that there's oh, I really like what they're doing here. Taking an entire front. We've got starlights, we've got mammoths, we've got catapults, and we've got the Marauders now building up. So there isn't much out of the peasants anywhere nearby that's going to stop this until maybe you get to this massive eco over here from Grumpiness, and Gallia's got a couple pulsars, maybe some susceptible. Yeah, problem with this player, they're really locked in. You can't really protect the eco that easily from anything swiping around the side here. See what happens there. But really nicely done. I've sent a couple jogs out to the right because I've just got that overflying eco. I am sending them knowing they're probably going to get degunned, but just trying to keep at least a couple peasants busy at a time. These ones here, hopefully I have... No, I've just got them on a set command. I'm not even looking. AFK gamer. Wanting to get them into these bases so that when they do go pop, they take out the base with them. So this one here is hopefully going to do a bit of damage. At least the build power is going to go down. I really hope I come over here. I cannot remember if I did anything more with this.
So these the Juggernauts are realistically a walking nuke that deals a bit of damage along the way, which is quite nice. And if you do manage to clear that corner up, which it looks like you will, that's going to be essentially one entire corner completely cleared up.
There you go, good degun there, taking it out, but build power's down, so this player's really not reset, but time delayed massively. And with these Marauders, if Maladay is going to go and fight command them north, which is what I assume will happen once they realise there was no resistance over in this corner, these players have a little bit of a problem. So that bottom right corner really in control for our team. And this walking wall of death is just really doing its thing. Hopefully we can see us get the whole way around the map with this whilst holding up north. Let's have a look at the top left, because that's been very quiet. Holy moly, Kakado. That's just a casual 22 APHIS. Yeah, that's
something which
eco that
has
matches
been missed.
Kings. Yeah.
One of the Kings has been mostly taken out in the on the left-hand side.
Oh,
the push has been pushed back now, but that got all the way up to the APHIS. So the Peasant's doing a good job of pushing in. This top right has a crazy amount of eco.
I've had to put my entire attention towards this corner here, apart from just sending some fiends out to the right for constant Tisu spam. Everything has to go this way because this corner has come online, and you can already see how many catapults we've really got. What Maladay did down south happening up north, but for the peasants, and I'm not liking that, because if these APHIS go pop, that's going to be a real problem. And these Kargis coming over the hill now, they could probably get in range unless I react, and I am not the best at this game, so I can't remember if I actually got over there. Demon's going to get through. That's going to easily be enough just to pop this. No commanders in sight. Twig, what are you doing? Terrible coverage. Oh, but we've got an AFK. Oh, you can't afford to AFK that. That's such juicy targets. The Kagi is there, but there is healing going on. Demon's coming out. Just saves the day there, and I think that's going to be shut down unless these catapults can... Oh!
Right as you say it. The little bit of damage done by the Kagi, just enough to back it up with those catapults. This is one of the reasons you have to pay attention to the map. Whatever your build order is, whatever your plan is, if another king is falling, you need to step in, because if you lose 10% of your fighting power through a player going down, it does make for some big problems.
I'm going to Marauders here. They are a great unit, but I think without any chonk in front of them, they're not going to do a lot in this game at this stage. They're great if they're in stupid numbers. You can see the push happened over here on the right. We did miss that one. But as soon as these get up to where the Razorbacks are, they've just been turned back around, because there's not going to be any more value felt over here.
The value of the Marauder is its speed and its ability to lay down a decent amount of firepower quickly. So unless you can find an opening where you can move around the defenses, move around the armies, they're not such a good unit for just clashing. So if you're going to use them for defenses, probably not. But if you are using them to use some of the space that's been made in this map, then they can be quite good.
Let's look left, because this is where the catapults are just getting in range of this big ecos. There are a lot of vanguards out of Jaleo here, and they are the longest firing unit in the game.
But they can be deflected by shields, and with this amount of eco, it is very shield friendly. I'd also would like to point out, I love what happens with these gaps that were made to isolate the Geo players. The vanguards walking up and down them go quite deep, and then pop up on the other side. It's quite cool. It's quite cool. The engine can handle that.
We've got just fight commands on the ground here, attack ground commands going on, just trying to clear this range. What I do like about the catapult, even though it doesn't shoot quite as far as the Vanguard, there is a lot of overshot with these bullets here. You can see attack ground right on the edge, but plenty of damage well beyond that.
And they also do penetrate the shields, which is something that we've seen for King of the Hill as being phenomenal as part of breaking sieges, breaking any sort of stalemate.
With 13 pulsars, I don't actually think this is getting through.
The more pulsars, the better. The pulsar has a range of 1400 compared to the catapult's range of 1350, which means the catapults do have to get in range unless they use that overshoot to try and destroy the pulsars. And anything which is accompanying the pulsar, anything which is accompanying the catapults will have a very bad time. So for example, the starlights, they do have a range of 950, so they're going to have to get well within if they want to do their job. The mammoths only have a range of 650, and they are very slow. The pulsar excels at killing chunky units because the entirety of the damage of the beam will hit the target and deal maximum damage. It has a DPS of 550 to 1090, but it does significant damage to those large units, because the DPS takes into account just how long it is not firing between shots.
Still impressed by the mammoths, how many shots they actually take even from this many pulsars before they go down well into the range before some of those are falling. Unfortunately,
that's what happens when you put enough chunk on the board, though, and it does look like Ollie's coming in with his own catapults to assist in the defense in this area, laying down the hurt. Again, manual firing is the name of the game with these catapults. Sometimes you will use a fight command, but if you're just constantly putting a barrage down at the edge of the range, then moving forward and doing it again, you're going to be having a much better time with those units. If you, just like most things, if you do a micro-intensive strategy, you will probably have a slightly better time.
Unfortunately, only catching the edge of Jaleo's base going pop, so that APHIS was found, the Geo was found, but I was not found. I was actually just on the other screen and thought I muted myself for a second. Sorry about that, but just capturing that, so that is giving the Kings some hope in being able to resume going around the map. I do like over here though, we've got who is this? This is Small? Yeah, it's Small going down with demons, so not enough spam in this area, and these demons getting some value, trying to clear out and create a distraction up north here. Big explosions on the north. I just cannot get out and they cannot get in. It's a bit of a stalemate here.
One of the things which has been quite interesting about that combat, all of the wreckages on the ground have actually proved to be a problem for both teams. This is where a lot of res needs to be going through. The reality is, though, the metal is not as needed as you would expect. If you look at the Kings, there are only 2 Kings that are fully spending their metal. The rest are having trouble with that. If you look at the Peasants, there are plenty of Peasants that are high on metal. But until every bar is full, the Reclaim is still usable.
I was going into some defensive catapults up there with my high ground advantage. Just trying to keep these Kings from these Peasants from getting any closer, but really not knowing what to do here. We're down to 9 players as Kings from the original 11. Obviously losing that one dropout straight away, and although Meloday's got things under control, there is still a phenomenal amount of eco coming out of the Peasants here. We've actually got 26%, 25% advantage for the energy income, and the metal incomes are pretty much even for both teams now.
It's interesting you say that Maladay's got has got this side covered. The pulsar wall is expanding, and it is holding everything back. That push has been stopped dead in the track, and while the Geo base is gone now, there is the this is still going to be quite the area to try and push through, because we also have the massive number of catapults out of Ollie. I'd love to see these pushing forward and trying to get damage onto some of the high grounds, but I do understand the desire to defend. These are going to be one of the next bastions of defense.
I would love to see ghosts or specters used against these pulsars. Stop this all. They're all bunched up. If you can like get enough units in there at once, obviously. Cannot see any sort of counter intrusion here. No, I don't see one there.
And speaking of ghosts and or specters, we're just going to do a bit of a hard cut right here, because we know the game is
south of the map, so real build up here. I wonder what's going to happen, but we have a phenomenal amount of mammoths, vanguards, and few catapults for good measure being worked in here on the right hand side. Are we going to see a good marauder rush here?
I hope we see a nice marauder rush. There's definitely a lot of opportunity here, because of the way the map's laid out with the lava. There's a lovely little canyon that these should be able to walk through. If you click on a marauder and you have a nice view of what they can and can't walk up down, I believe it is with the F1 tool, there is a unbroken path that they can make their way across, which should be very, very nice for them. And once they start rolling, all of the units that are up the top, the behemoth and the mammoth, should tank a lot of the fire as they start coming in. Having a look at the player view of the defender, it's only going to be once they're on the move that they gain vision. And that is exactly what's happening now. A large chunk of marauders. We do have 63 marauders trying to head their way down. They've found that gap in the canyon. Let's see where they can make their way across. All they have to do is get 3 shots onto one of those converters, maybe 4 if enough healing goes down onto it, and it should be enough to pop that entire section. There's only a 2 wide gap for the construction turrets between the conversion and the APHIS, which means that I am unsure whether or not they'll actually pop or not. I know that 4 is the default, but we may find out. Marauders just getting into range of those pulsars now. The question is going to be how many of them survive, and that is a fan of fire. And it's only going to get worse for them because they are in vision range. The vanguards are dropping shells down on them as well.
Man, I
and
wish
as
I had
they
ticks
start,
here.
oof, that's a shot right there. Because the beams last so long, the units are just walking into them. But there are still quite a few to go, and as long as they get across, they don't need many shots. They just have to push deep enough into those shields. If they don't, they'll be bouncing.
They're getting caught on their own wreckages.
Oh no! And we talked about this earlier, the wreckages being one of the key problems, and that means that when they do walk up, if any of the pulsars fire, that's not good. That's not good at all.
Can you imagine if I had spam in there? I feel like a bit of a failure. And we can see the vanguard's going to target down that very last one. How unfortunate. Oh, that hurts.
That was a really good try. Looking just around the map quickly, we're still stalemated at the top. Plenty of Titans holding off some of the spam over here. Plenty of Jugs at the front in the main at the main battle, and we do see a huge number of behemoths in the right hand side just waddling their way down to clean up the last of the right hand side of the map. It's been about 10 minutes worth of mostly back and forthing, but it does look like a tiebreaker maybe just about to happen. Some units that we don't normally see in these, the Spectre is coming in to try and make a difference. We did see an attempt to try and run through the spam wave, but it was picked up. Now these units are heading for the pulsars, and backing them up we also have the Titans and the Behemoths, and while the pulsars are doing a great job of shutting them down, they're still getting ridiculously close for just how much damage they're doing. That's the first EMP going down. And let's see, it's going to be, one of the biggest ones is going to be the one heading it to that high ground that Twig has selected. If that one goes off, that's going to be absolutely huge, and it does look like it is about to... EMP missiles coming out of the Thors as well.
Thors ended up doing it.
And now the units are all free to move in. We do have quite a long time on a few of these, but more EMPs can go down on them as well. That critical amount of time is going to shut down these units, let the behemoth get in, and once the behemoth starts getting in, that's going to be some big damage. There was an opportunity there for the Titan to target the advanced energy converter. His laser would punch straight through the shielding, but it did not happen, and it does look like it's going to be the Thors. There we go, lightning punching through, and without that conversion, Grumpiness is going to have a lot of problems keeping this alive, and it doesn't matter because that's the end of the APHIS.
Just at the start of that, we did see, unfortunately, Platinum Blonde's base going down, so now 4 lanes under heavy pressure on the top here, and that's just a bit too much for me. We do have Artificial Banana that's been working their way around with now the behemoths, so upgrade from the previous saws that we just saw before. But the problem with these is they're so freaking slow, so the reaction time to get across and cover this blown up base is very average. I'm having to now take these catapults a little bit further towards the middle, which means that this ramp's not getting constant fire like it used to. I am keeping a few just here so that I can ground fire these units, but now we've got T1 getting in up here, so it is starting to fall for us up here. If only those Spectres were used a little bit earlier, if only those Thors were used a little bit earlier. Grumpiness really holding out and taking the attention of not 1, not 2, but 3 or 4 Kings down in that corner.
Big danger in the top side here. There are a couple of Juggernauts that were making their way in, unfortunately. Happy Cloud decided to try and pull them back. That is not the move you want with walking nukes. Walk them in and get them as close as you can and de-gun them. I actually reckon that would have been game ending just there if they had managed to explode the distance that they walked backwards, forwards. That would have taken Twig's build power out, and it would have stopped and it would have taken one of his geos out easily as well. That would have been a big blow. But it does look like the map is now turning into a bit of a race. We do have the top side that is going to be trying to break into the King's base, and the bottom side which is going to be trying to wrap everyone up. And there is plenty to do the wrapping here. We have Vanguards coming out of the wazoo. We have Resbots coming down to reclaim absolutely everything. We've got Pulsars and we have Mammoths. So it's going to be a slow push, but it's going to be a really hard push to stop the Thors that did claim the base. Still on the bottom left hand side, and they are slowly making their way up through Tank Tom's base. So that is going to be yet another peasant going down. So it is now over 50% of the map under control by the Kings, but economy is in the favor of the peasants. That space and the number of people left mostly unattacked, doing a lot of the damage. But Behemoths coming well into... Oh, what have we got there, Twig? We've got a Titan that is going to try and grab all those APHIS, and it looks like it is going to... Big damage there, and that takes Tank Tom out of the fight. But the Kings are about to suffer have suffered the same problem with the Behemoths pushing through and grabbing the last of Wonderland's APHIS. And now we have a bunch of those units pushing in as deep as they possibly can. Twig managing to grab a Behemoth just there with his comm, but it doesn't matter because we have the catapults that have been slowly sieging this area, getting those shots up into the high ground.
At this point of the game, I probably should have reclaimed the advanced geos, but having said that, I mean, look what's happening up here. It's not healthy. There's a lot of T3 units.
If you get to the point where you have to reclaim this inner circle of advanced geos,
Cerberus,
you probably have bigger problems.
Yeah, I should have put Cerberus down way earlier. Back at the stage when these catapults were just sitting out here a little bit safe. Just trying to get the commander out there to do some D-guns. Unfortunately, the second that I pop that D-gun out, the next 2 Titans just go and use that nice tasty laser. And are these going to quite get to my eco?
I would say that those Titans are going to struggle. There are plenty of Titans of your own, a Juggernaut as well as the Demons, and it will take a couple of shots to pop those inner APHIS.
We do have only 2 comms
they are
left.
Still alive.
And then we've got 2 Behemoths here. Behemoths really not going to be stopped by anything but a comm. Closest one is, I don't even know where. Nowhere near. In fact, not even on the hill. We have retreated. Maladay out to the right, and there must be another one down south. There you go, Artificial Banana, just hanging out with his mate over there.
I love the tenacity, but the reality is if the middle of the map falls, the Kings are done for.
Tick's getting in now. Yikes.
The crazy thing is, the ticks are actually quite a danger in the middle of the map, because some friendly fire could be just what the Doctor ordered.
Don't tell me a scuttle is what got me. Please don't tell me a scuttle is what got me.
That would be absolutely phenomenal if the scuttle gets you, though it isn't heading for the main economy, it is heading for one of these geo positions, and it is going to have to walk through a spam line in order to get there, and it does look like it has been spotted, so it probably won't get the full-on detonation that it wants.
T2 goes
but
down.
It does still do a bit of damage, gets the T2 lab, which every little bit counts at this point, but it is those two behemoths walking up, or the catapults that are going to be doing the big one. There we go, catapults being the victors. I do love that players tried scuttles through all this madness, though. What a great play. I would have loved to see that one be successful. And with Twig taken down, the economy has dropped significantly. We're looking at close to 10k for the peasants, and is that 5.6 for the Kings?
That's right. Still doing damage down the bottom left, and a couple of us have actually gone and built backup bases. So I've got 4 APHIS out the back there, a couple of geos going down. So we are thinking about keeping it going, but really at this stage, I think the discussion was right. If these peasants do take the rest of the hill, let's give them victory and resign this one.
From the commentators' booth in this one, the big question was going to be, can the force that's working its way around wrap up the peasants, or will the peasants wrap up the Kings? And because of the very slow speed that the force in the bottom left of the map is moving, it's looking like the Kings are going to fall first. But there is still plenty of units here to defend, and all of the army that was going around the outside of the map is now in the middle for the Kings, and that is a very large quantity of behemoths, and they could stall out the game for a while. 24 king behemoths trying to get in position to block this top left hand side from doing all of the damage. Alright, does look like we have a massive behemoth threat heading towards one of the last bastions of APHIS. There is a comm coming to intercept it, but if it doesn't make it through, then all those units behind almost certainly will. That's the first shot into the APHIS. It has been taken down, but look, we do have everything coming to try to clean this one up. The Titans a little bit scared of the D-guns out of the comm, but with the comm down, they should turn around and head on back.
This many Titans,
and it is going to be the best unit in the game, the Titan, that is going to be claiming the victory here. We just need to see some good target firing. Those behemoths reaping a huge toll, but that is the economy going down, and there is only one major economy left up on the hill now. Just a handful of APHIS that are stopping the peasants from breaking through to the last-ditch attempt of survival in the bottom side of the map. But the economy has dropped significantly for the Kings, so it's going to be very rough to come back from this sort of position.
That almost doubled the advantage of the eco for the peasants just with that explosion. So, well, obviously we can see which way.
When you take out 26 APHIS in one go, that's exactly what you'd expect to happen.
But no,
and there goes the second lot just there.
What do you reckon, guys? Leave in the comments what your feedback is on Hot Stepper. Obviously this game gets a little bit big and a little bit slow. It turns into a real big T3 bout. One suggestion we had from, do you remember who it was, Prey? The use of Scav units in this game might give the Kings the opportunity to push out a little bit more than they did at the start. Because this one really turned into a stalemate for about half an hour of the game. It was great fun. Just, yeah, it gets to that little bit of a, yeah, let's get on to the next game stage.
The interesting thing is that as a person watching, it did get to that stage. But as people were playing, they actually did really enjoy playing with the T3 units.
Yeah, and it was
There are not
unfortunate for
very many
about
games.
2/3 of the
There are not very
peasants
many
down here.
games that you manage to get to this level of economy and this level of T3 at in just regular play. So I do think that that was quite nice for them. But yeah, I would love to hear your suggestions on that one. Potentially reducing the bonus of the kings, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see exactly how the and I know that sounds weird because the peasants did win this one, but the peasants won this one after 50 odd minutes. The kings had some huge damaging pushes, and if we'd seen more of those around the map, I think the game could have been over in a different direction much earlier.
Ray, we
But
had
that's the thing. What do you guys reckon? What's the balance going to be? Do you think this one's worth putting? Do you think this one will be a good one to put in the rotation? Do you want to see more matches on it? Let us know, because that's that sort of feedback is going to make a big difference, particularly if you made it this far into the video.
yeah, the I know we did practice this. We actually practiced this on one of our Wacky Wednesdays where we took this bottom quarter of the map here and we practiced just without the Eco King, and we also did one with the Eco King, just what it's like pushing out. And we did find it was like actually quite a good game if the Kings were to take defensive positions, offensive positions, and eco positions, rather than the way this one was kind of set up at the start where it was a bit messy. It was a bit messy. No one really knew what they were doing. So maybe as the meta unfolds, it would be a bit more competitive at that 10-minute mark in all directions, rather than just seeing the south fall and then the north fall in the other direction with the peasants winning. So I don't know. Let us know your thoughts, people.
The other one, which, and this is just me throwing food for thought out there, I would quite honestly love to see a T1 only match on this game. See what happens there. That'd be quite an interesting one, though I suspect it would also end in a stalemate, but would love to see some challenge games like that in the future. But we do want to make these ones fun on the night, so we're a little hesitant to throw some of those ideas out there. But if you've made it this far in, you're more than welcome to add to that discussion.
Right, as the final behemoths walk there, we've got 4 more APHIS, and then I reckon we do throw in the resign vote. I control D my commander, as does Potato and Small. I'm just going to show some respect to these huge ecos that are funding the victory up here on the top left. Potato, I kill you for fun. We got Bravo, sorry, amongst others. It's not just the big ecos that win this. The small ones that do all the defensive work, they really are important, and they are what holds these games together for defensive players.
I would just like to point out, Kokado has 55 APHIS, and that is powering out a behemoth every 25 or so seconds. And it's not even spending all the metal.
Here we go. Under command, the final commander there for the Kings, and Potato. See ya.
And we're just going to snap over to some of the economies, because we do know that a lot of the peasants do like to detonate those in the last moments of the game. And hopefully we'll see a nice boom over here.
Does it happen?
Very nicely done out of the peasants. This one really was a grind, and they managed to get themselves to, just with one corner remaining, over 10,000 metal income, which is absolutely insane, and a testament to just how well a lot of these players played it. A couple of things that I do really want to call out as being important. The initial push by Darth Revan in the beginning of the game, that was held off so well by the peasants, with only a very small part of the map going down to a ludicrously strong T1 push. Very nicely done. down to the bottom side of the map, all the players working together in that constant siege battle to keep the bottom half alive and stopping the units from wrapping up, and then to Maxi for working out that it was going to be the EMPs that were going to break through that. Very nicely done. Hopefully over the course of maybe a few more of these games we'll see a meta forming and a bit of an even and less long match out of everyone. Twig's just got those stats up there. And don't forget that it is the AllReasonNoLogic 1 year anniversary, so please do leave a like, a comment, and a subscribe for that King of the Hill goodness that we've been delivering for a year now. Join the Discord, jump on into the Twitch or the YouTubes, and hopefully we will catch you in the next one.